law, so you want to transfer, right? So this is the third video in the series. We're going to be talking about the application process. This is what we'll be going over. We're going to be going over Do You Qualify? We're going to be talking about the academic timeline of the application. We're going to talk about where and how you apply. We're going to go segue into application costs because those can be kind of expensive. And then lastly, we'll be talking about the transfer application. So the first question in the application process and transferring in general is when you've selected your university and you want to apply, do you even qualify? You will need to meet transfer requirements. It's specified by the 4-year that you're interested in. Typically you'll see that there's limits on the number of transfer units. In a semester, they'll take 60, in a quarter, they'll take 90. You have a limit on academic standing. Some colleges want you to be rising junior level or above. You're gonna have a required minimum GPA, which is kind of easy to maintain, right? It'll typically be 2.0, but many transfers, they'll have it above 2.0. So you might want to consider that. And lastly, there are required GE classes that you have to take at your community college in addition to the ones that you want to transfer over. Transfer agreements obviously help out with this, but you're going to want to check what classes at your community college to satisfy it. And, I have some examples. So this is the application requirements for UCSD. Let's go actually onto the website instead of me showing you a screenshot. So we go here, and we go here, and we're here. You have your college at UCSD. We have I think it's 7 different colleges now. Yeah, there's 7 colleges. It might be 8 soon. But I was talking earlier about the course requirements. This is what I'm talking about. In addition to the ones that you want to transfer, these required classes that you have to take. There's that GPA requirement, all of that good stuff that I'm pretty sure that I went over in the last 2 videos and this one now. SDSU, it's similar. Something unique that they have, in addition to these are the classes that they want you to take. In addition to that, here's the GPA. They have a timeline that this must be completed by for depending on when you want to be admitted. And we'll talk about that later. When should you admit yourself? When you want to transfer? But I think that's pretty cool. Well, actually, let's just talk about that right now. What's your timeline? So the question that you want to ask yourself is, when do you want to transfer in? You can transfer at the beginning of the year. Some universities will allow you to transfer in the middle, in between academic terms, but I think that's my personal opinion. It's risky, especially financially, with financial aid. I'll go over that in the next video. I think that if you can, you should transfer at the beginning of the year. But with that said, when do you start your transfer application? Well, you should look at the headlines first and then decide. But a good rule of thumb is to start it alongside your last academic year at your community college. You want to spend as much time on your application as possible to get you the best chance of going in. And to help illustrate that point of when your timeline is, I have a timeline. I made a timeline. This is great. This is the hypothetically if you wanted to go into UCSD transferring from a semester community college. So over here, the gray boxes, those are the semesters. This is the last year that I would hypothetically be in the community college. So if I wanted to apply to UCSD, the application in green over here, it would open in August. I would want to be mindful of when things open and when things are due. So FAFSA would open in October. This would be during my fall semester. During my fall semester, I would have to stress because the application's due in November at the end of the month, right there. So assuming that I get everything done in time, I do all the things, the decisions won't be posted until next year. So that would be in March and April that these are posted. Also note that FAFSA is due for UCSD in March. Talk about that in the next video. In January, you're gonna update your application with your transfer class info. Basically, this semester, you're gonna update it with the college transcript that you're going to submit. Aside from that, let's say you don't get in, there's an admissions appeals deadline, there's a deadline to accept your admission to UCSD, there's a deadline to submit your final transcripts. You could get waitlisted. You have to opt into a waitlist at UCSD, but fingers crossed, if everything goes well, your transfer is successful, you're gonna spend like these months, May, June, July, August, or September, parts of September to like get ready to go to UCSD. But this is all hypothetical. It might not be. I tried to make it as realistic as possible, basically. Yeah. But anyway, where and how do you apply? Well, I'm pretty sure all the applications now are online. It really depends on where you want to apply. Yeah, UCSD and CSUs, Cal States, they have their own application portals. So you wanna make an account with them and apply through there. Private universities and other colleges, they might use the Common App if they don't have their own application portal. That's where you want to start. That's where you want to begin your applications. Is where you want to go. But there's a consideration with applications and that they're expensive as heck. They're really, really expensive. This might be kind of hard to see because I'm not in present mode, but for UCs and CSUs, they're both $70. I don't remember UC application being $70 when I applied. I thought it was more. How fun. It's $80 for international and non-immigrant applicants. But you can see the point. It's very expensive. But I don't think you'd be paying more than like $105. But it gets really expensive when you start applying to multiple. And I encourage you to apply to multiple universities just so you have a better chance of getting in somewhere. So how do you make this cheaper? The answer's at the bottom. You want to qualify for fee waivers. So what does that mean? Well, in the application process, thankfully, at least for UCs and CSUs, there's a set of qualifications in the application for your money that qualify you for a fee waiver. So for UCSD, I have it here. For CSUs, I have it here. Typically, it's if you fall under a specific income, they'll give you fee waivers. For UCSD, up to 4 campuses for students who wouldn't be able to qualify. Again, the specific requirements. For CSUs, the criteria is here. You need to be an undergrad student. You need to be a California resident, unfortunately, for more than a year. So if you're applying from out of state, sorry, unless you want to live in California for a year. And you need to be a US citizen. For the Common App, similar things. Their fee waiver stuff is more broader. For some of it's high school students, like if you qualify for ACT or SAT testing fee waiver, like you qualify. So some of this is applies to high school students, but this will also apply. This is very broad. Apply for the Common application if you can, because this is your application. Your applications could be cheaper. So aside from the application costs, now you have the transfer application itself. Woo! So you do all these things and you decide to actually apply. The application itself is actually pretty similar to the ones you filled out for your community college, in my opinion. You're gonna enter demographic information. In this case, you're gonna enter your college transcripts. You're gonna have to request those from your community college. You might put in test scores, but you might not need them because you're a community college student. That proves that you can handle the course load. Your extracurriculars at your community college. The ones that I highlighted, essays and letters of recommendation, those are the ones that I'm actually gonna go over in the slides. But here on the right, I have 2 examples of application sections. It's basically what I said, really. So starting application, like I said before, you have to create an account with the application portal, but about you, what campuses and majors do you want to go to? What's your academic history? What have you done? Do you qualify for any scholarships? I'll talk about that more later. And of course, there's the essays. Same thing with CSUs, except it's not. Yeah, no, this is the whole CSU thing. Yeah. But specifically for essays and letters of recommendation, I have some tips, some essay tips. First, the thing that I always tell people who are applying is you should tell a story, but you want to try to keep it focused. So, like, you want it at a specific point in time. If you tell a story that's like broad, like a whole year, it's gonna get there's a lot to cover. You want to try to tell a story that's yours. You want it to be unique. I personally think that you should be vulnerable in your applications. You need to reflect on yourself. It's really good to talk about growth, but I understand it can be hard to talk about yourself. But you should. In line with spending more time, you should have multiple drafts. You should spend as much time as you can. You might get ideas about your essays the more time you spend on it that you can incorporate. That might be better if you just worked on it for a week. Regarding bragging, I mean, you should brag because you're trying to convince college applications that you're worth getting accepted, but you don't want to just brag. It's more important to talk about what these achievements, if any, that you've gotten, or these experiences, what do they mean to you? How have they affected your growth? What do they mean to you as a person? And I'm also of the opinion that you should get your essays looked at. Who can help for free? So your community college, hopefully they have a writing center, but you can also go to libraries, the academic counselors who have been helping you in the process at your community college, or maybe at the university you're interested in, they could help too. But definitely professors that you have a rapport with, mentors even. At times, your friends could look at them too. For your letters of recommendation, the question is who can write your letters of recommendation. Hopefully at the time you spend at community college, like you've built up relationships, like you know people. Generally, the people that you want writing your letters of recommendations are people who have known you long, but also that you personally have known recently. You don't want people from high school necessarily, although it's an option. You kind of want people from community college or like around that time. You want people that you've worked with, especially in extended capacity. So like professors, you don't just want professors that you've taken a class in. Maybe you've had that professor for 2 semesters, maybe a whole year, maybe you've gone with them beyond just the class. But more especially, you want people who align with your goals and interests, that know what you want and is probably in a similar field. But more specifically, who? Professors, faculty, mentors in your interests. If you work, your bosses and supervisors. If you have clients, your colleagues. And speaking of colleagues, peer recommendations work too, but just make sure it's professional. It's in a professional capacity. If you don't have any, you could get your old high school teachers, but you should probably build a rapport with them first, talk with them a bit, maybe like, I don't know, a few months to a year, just so they get an understanding of who you are as a person since you graduated high school. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We went over the requirements for you to transfer in, like do you qualify. We went over an academic timeline, the timeline of you applying. I showed you where and how to apply. I talked about application costs that can be pretty expensive. Tried and see if you can get fee waivers. And I talked about the application process itself, gave you some pointers. I understand that this presentation was pretty quick, so if you have any questions on Brian, you can email me there, you can message the Instagram. For the next video, I'm going to be talking about financial aid and how that applies to transfer students. So yeah, I'm hoping to see you in the next video. It's going to be coming out alongside this one. Thanks, see you then.